We're entering in an interesting era right now where AI is a part of the equation. As a sales professional, how do you best interact with AI? Is it going to take your job or can it help you to make more money? In this episode, we're going to tackle some topics that I feel not only as a sales rep, but as a sales leader, it's absolutely critical for you to understand. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we have the one and only John Barrows, Mr. JB himself. And we're going to talk about AI, some of the things that John's doing right now, some of the things that we should look for as sales leaders and as sales rep. The landscape is evolving, and it's evolving at a rapid rate. It's important that we understand that landscape and be able to know how to best interact and engage. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, it's designed to help you to do two things. One, increase your pipeline. Two, to be able to close at a higher rate. As we dive into the conversation today, listen to how you can do some of that. And perhaps the strategy that John's sharing at the end, perhaps this can help you and your sales org. Let's dive in. John, welcome back to the show, man.
What's up? Thanks for having me back, man. I appreciate it.
Now, I'm really looking forward to this, trying to grasp our minds around the AI concepts and how we can take advantage of that, how we can utilize it, what we should know, what we don't know. My job in jeopardy, John. I mean, there's so many things that people have that they don't really realize, and I think a lot of people just don't know what we don't know yet with this, and I'm really just want to take this as a brainstorming session to be able to just grasp some of the things that you're coming across. Before we dive into that, I bragged about you a little bit in the beginning there. Tell us a little bit more about what you guys are working on right now, John.
Yeah, so JB head of JB Sales right now, and we do sales training. We work with a lot of the tech companies out there, so we've been feeling the pinch, obviously, over the past 6 months. But the Salesforce, LinkedIn, Box, Dropbox, all those companies, I train their sales teams, and what we're working on right now is how to scale. So, when you ask, like, is your job in jeopardy? And if I put you in this a similar bucket to me, as far as sales enablement, training, and educating people, yeah, I think it is, quite frankly. I actually think everybody's is. But and different than it ever has been, right? Because, historically, and I've been through some stuff. I don't know how old are you again?
I'll be 40 39.
All right, so you're getting up there. 39. All right, so you're not a spring chicken. Like, I'm 47, right? So, and for me, I've seen some crazy stuff, right? I mean, I've seen some major shifts in business. The internet, right? When I came out of college, the internet was still really in its infancy. Like, email was barely a thing. It was still straight up cold calling for most part when I was prospecting and stuff like that. But the internet took a while to take hold. You know what I mean? It kind of gradually, and there were still some people that were like, "Oh, this internet thing's a fad," right? I mean, crazy. Like, looking back on it, it's bananas. But it was a gradual thing. And historically, you're always like, oh, technology, innovation, it displaces jobs, but it creates jobs, right? And so, yeah, that kind of happened. We evolved with the internet. A whole bunch of stuff just started coming up. And then we went from dial-up to DSL, right? We had fast speed internet. That was bananas. Then we had cell phones. That was bananas. Then we had the iPhone. That was bananas. But none of them had what I think is like a fundamental shift in such a short period of time. And I think what happened with Chat GPT and those tools that came out early this year and before that, I think that's a fundamental shift. We are at Pandora's box right now, and it got opened, and we're not going back, because the difference between all those other tools and these is that it's now learning on itself, compounding, and we are teaching the machine how to be us. And I think the problem is that we've basically been teaching the Industrial Revolution in general, like our education system, fundamentally teaches people how to be robots, right? It teaches them how to fit into a system and do a cog in a rather large wheel, right? And so, unfortunately, and I'll bring this down to sales, we've been treating a lot of sales reps in the sales process like robots, right? I mean, we over-engineer the sales process, and it's been grow at all costs for the past 10 years. VCs just throwing money at companies. A 60% button seat is better than a 0% button seat. Let's go. And they teach on the tools and the technology before they teach the fundamentals of the profession of sales. And so now that sales is hard, these reps don't have anything to fall back on. And so we've turned them into robots, and now they are getting replaced by robots. And I'll just come full circle on your question as far as what I'm working on right now. I see it. I know it. I am going to get replaced. There is no question right now that AI can actually be a better coach than I can. Better, because it can absorb every sales methodology on the planet, and it can be just in time, and it can be any language. And as long as you work with it a little bit, you're going to get coaching and tips from a robot better than I could ever give you. So instead of me trying to figure out like, when's this going to happen, I'm doing it. So I'm replacing myself. I'm working on an AI tool that will be an AI JB, and it's going to take over my job. And now, don't get me wrong, like I'll still do conferences and speak, but on a day-to-day basis, you're going to get way more access to this stuff and be far better served than you would trying to engage with me. So that's what we're working on right now.
That's crazy. Go
Yep.
deeper into that. Like, I mean, what exactly? Like, when you say replace you, we're gonna have like a hologram, like, or is it like on a Zoom call, taking information, giving back feedback, or like a training?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where it's going to go yet. I'm not the technical genius here by any stretch of the imagination, but I know I've seen what it can do. And I'm working with a couple of groups that have the ability to do it without me having to drop $1 million to do it, right? And I think that we're going to get to the point. And look, I don't know what it's going to manifest as, right? It will be a, because look, learning management, right? LLMs, learning language models, the LLM systems. The reason I've shied away from it is because most of these LLMs are mass databases with mass data, and I don't know where the information is coming from. I can't trust it, right? And so I'll be damned if I'm going to put my face, my brand onto something that I don't know where that information is coming from. And so, but what we're going to be able to do is create our own learning language model that only information that I approve goes into this model, right? So because think about how many, I'm on my podcast. I think I'm creeping up to 300 episodes. I got blogs for days. I got content out there like you read about, right? Like that type of stuff. So we can ingest all of that into my LLM, and then only content that I approve. So, okay, I'm going to take in the medic. I'm going to take in these type of things from trusted sources. And so that when you're asking this chatbot a question about sales, it'll be JB Sales approved. Because right now you don't know who to trust, right? With this whole advent of AI, it's like I quite frankly, I don't believe a single thing that's on the internet right now. Like I've looked at a video and I'm like, people are like, have you seen this crazy shit? I'm like, I have no idea whether that's real or not. I really don't.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. And now I got to fact check it and all that other stuff. And what I'm betting on here is the people who leaned into their brands for the past 5-10 years and really built a strong personal brand, hopefully in the next year to 3 years here, are going to be able to shine, because now we can leverage that to say, oh shit, this is JB Sales approved. Well, I trust John. He's been in this industry for 15 years. So if I'm going to trust a sales coach, well, if it's going to be an AI one, then it's going to be from him, right? And I'll be able to work with people like you and everybody else to bring us into the system so we can collectively create this LLM that is all sales all the time and really helps coach. Because that's where I think AI is going to have the biggest impact in the short term. I think coaching for reps, frontline reps, is where it's actually going to have the biggest impact, because most managers, as you know, they don't have time to coach, and they don't coach, and they're not coached to coach. So they don't even know how to. And so these reps, maybe you and me, been in the game for a while. Okay, AI, it's like, I played around with someone. It's like, okay, I didn't ask an open-ended question. My bad, whatever. Right. But for that 22-year-old kid that's sitting at home, not getting any coaching from their manager and really just doing forecast reviews with them, I think AI is going to have a massive impact for them.
Yeah, I mean, and I think to go back to like the integration with the other sales enablement tools we have, again, like if you're talking about like the Gongs of the world, you're talking about utilizing just any type of enhancement tools. Like AI could be able to study and probably could do it faster than Gong
by far. Well, see,
if it's done
that's
properly.
The problem with and I love Gong. Don't get me I love Gong, and I use Gong. But the problem is, if you're going to coach correctly, okay. If you say you're a rep of mine, Donald, right? So you take a 30-minute call. Well, I have to now listen to that 30-minute call, and I can't listen to it on 2x because I need to listen for tonality, inflection, how the pauses, and I need to kind of watch their reaction to you when you ask that question. So in order to coach right, I have to listen to the full 30 minutes And then I have to coach on what I just listened to, right? So I'm 45 minutes to an hour on every half hour call of coaching. And I know you can just type in pricing and see where it goes to the pricing, but still there's so much context to that part of the discussion that I need if I really want to coach the right way. So that's why it doesn't happen. And so, but now that it transcribes everything and AI can point to it and we can say, hey, these are the standards that I want you to make sure that reps are always getting coached around. They're always getting coached on these things, right? Because these are priorities for me versus somebody else. That's where all of a sudden you can gain some real consistency. And so for me, I'm hopeful in the sense that, because by the way, the other component of having your own LLM is I now can actually even make it, according to the nerds, right? And I'm not one of them, is I can actually make it so if you have your company, right? You can get the JB sales coach and they'll coach all your reps. But if you actually put your content on this secure LLM, I can now have the AI bot actually coach your reps how to sell your stuff. So instead of just selling in general, I can say, hey, Salesforce, right? Here's all your value propositions. Here's your ICP. Here's all that other stuff. Okay, here's the value propositions. Here's the questions you should ask versus somebody else in another company. So this is where I think it starts to get really, really cool with what's out there. And, is it going to replace us? Yes, it is. It's just, do you want to be part of this and pay attention to it and leverage it so that you can be the people that stay afloat and stay alive, from a job standpoint? Or do you just want to wait for it to come and kick you right in the teeth? And I'm not going to wait for it to come kick me right in the teeth.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that too. Like, you get ahead of the wave. And I think the beautiful part about this too is like, it's just the natural evolution. Go back to what you said with the Industrial Revolution and so forth. Like I had a conversation with one of my friends when we were talking about AI a while back. And dude was saying like, yeah, people are going to be out of a job. It was like the McDonald's thing, like how they have the McDonald's machine and it's taking jobs. And I was like, yeah, but then what happens is because of, go back to when computers first came around. Yeah, we don't have to do all the things on the assembly line like people used to do anymore. However, it enhanced it. So people had to think different. They still need people to operate these now AIs and to do different things relative to that. There's different jobs that will spawn as a natural byproduct, but you may not necessarily do the functionality of flipping a burger anymore. And I think that's the power of this. Just so, and I think the idea of we don't know what we can do. Like even with what you're sharing here, one of the thoughts that came to mind, JB, is if that's case of selling, what about buying?
Trust me, this is the part that scares me.
Come on, bro.
So this is the part that scares me. Like I'm actually not scared that AI is going to replace sales reps. What I'm scared of is when AI starts buying shit. Like,
come on, bro.
Because let's put it this way. I grew up in the IT services space. Okay. So I used to sell outsourced IT services, MSPs and stuff like that. There was even back then, and there's tools now like Kaseya and all these web tracking or these software tracking tools, right? Where I can put a node on your network and it can do a scrape and tell me all the systems that you're using right now. Okay. So picture this. And this functionality is available right now. You can put that on, you can use a tool like Kaseya that looks at all of the software and everything else, analyze it, have it come back to you, tell you which software tools are being utilized, which ones aren't, which ones adopting and which ones aren't. Then you can figure out, okay, well, how do I consolidate? Then you take your 12 to 24 month business plan, you pump it into the system and say, okay, well, based on our 12 to 24 month growth plans, with our current stack here, what do we need to adjust and what do we need to now go get? Then it identifies the software that it needs. Then it goes on to like G2 and Gartner and whatever, and picks the top 3 vendors in those areas, sends them a RFP that says, hey, here's it sends it to the team with the RFP. The RFP gets filled out. It analyzes the data. And then maybe a person at the end of the day makes the decision between the last 2, right? Because there's some human, like, I want to know. Bro. That functionality is already there. That's why when people ask me what to do, like I do sales training, right? When people ask me what to do with RFPs, I throw up my hands. I'm like, I don't know, because that's not selling. That's not selling. That is filling out information to get to the next part of the table. So what I recommend them all to do is get a full-time, if RFPs are a genuine part of your process, like, and they're not just like a nice to have type of thing, well, go hire a full-time RFP person to just stamp out those. Don't waste your sales reps time on that shit because it's not selling.
Yeah.
So when that happens, that's when I think we're going to be like, holy shit, where does that leave us which is why I think this transition, by the way, of sales reps going back to full cycle sales and the front end being taken care of marketing and operations under ABMs, and that's where SDRs and BDRs are going to roll up into. You're watching it right now, but sales reps are actually going to have to go further than that. Not just back to full cycle sales. They're going to have to know the product pretty well, because things are moving into a PLG motion, product lifestyle growth, right? Where it's like, get it in the hands of the users, and then you educate the user on how to use it more effectively, and then you do the seed and grow approach. So sales reps are going to have to be able to meet the customer where they are when they need the support, and educate them, not just ask them a bunch of shitty questions, but actually show them use cases, be able to bring up the solution. Oh, have you seen this? And that type of stuff, so that they can be a far more dynamic to meet the client where they are. Because it's always cracked me up that we always treat the buying or the selling process as this linear thing where they go stage 1 and stage 2 and stage 3 and stage 4. It's like, what the fuck? Like, no buying process looks like that. That doesn't marry up in any way, shape, or form. Clients come in and out whenever the fuck they want. They engage when they want. They engage how they want. So if we're not there to meet them at that moment with value that is better, and quite frankly, that is better than what they can get out of Chat GPT, which is not hard. Like, these days, I can get more value out of it. Like, if I wanted to evaluate your solution, I actually could get more value out of going onto Chat GPT, taking your website, putting it into Chat GPT, and say, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Tell me if this solution, it fits my needs, and going back and forth and saying, well, what am I missing? I can get way more value out of engaging with a chatbot right now with AI than I can calling a rep that's going to ask me fucking BANT questions and force me through some generic demo.
Dude, the game is changing, man. It is seismic shift. I'm like, if you go back to this then, John, so sales leaders listen to the show. We just talked about from the components of you being able to help coach, nurture, train their reps, from the side of the buying, the potential that can come from that with AI. Where do we stand? What should I do? It's today. It's 20, whatever the date is, the 31st of July. What should I be doing right now if I'm in a team leading a sales team?
Here's my recommendation to every client that I'm working with right now. Because look, I don't think most leaders right now are, I don't want to say aged out, but I put myself in this position. I'm 47 years old. There's not a shot in hell that I am going to stay up to date on all this stuff and be able to make the right decisions at, kind of from the top down standpoint, right? Because even if you do decide, oh, here's a problem that we have. Okay, there's some AI solutions. Let me identify the vendors, right? And X, Y, and Z, and then go through and select that vendor and implement that vendor. Like, you're 12 months out from any decision these days to getting ROI. And can you honestly tell me what 12 months looks like out from here? I have no idea. I don't know what 12 days looks like coming from here, right? So what I'm suggesting everybody is they actually turn their sales org into a sales lab, where, engineers, how they have hackathons, right? And they all kind of pick a topic and they nerd out on it for a little while, and then they start figuring out things. Well, I think sales orgs should do the same thing. I think you should book, because look, all the reps know this stuff's coming for them anyways. They're all looking over their shoulder saying, when am I going to, get replaced by this thing and whatever. So why not embrace it? And embrace their abilities too. So one of the things is, like, for instance, they're all playing with the tools. So let's put some structure to this. So Friday afternoons from 2 to 4 o'clock, grab pizza, beer, and whatever it is, okay? And do a hackathon, do a sales hackathon. Identify a component of the sales process. And you and I are both on the Salesforce influencer thing, right? So when Salesforce came out with their sales, the state of sales report recently, and they talked, I think the stat was either 27 or 30, only 27% of sales reps' time is actually spent selling, right? And the rest is fun. And what they did was they broke down, like 8% doing admin, doing CRM updates, 10% doing this, 15% doing that. Well, every one of those areas is an area that AI can automate for you, right? So pick one of those areas, like call it meeting prep, okay? And so the topic is meeting prep. Now, we got 2 hours here. We're going to break up into groups. Whoever can find a free AI tool that can prepare for a meeting fast and efficiently, blah, 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 wins the day, right? And then you let them go. All right, go, see what happens. And then they get creative. They look at all, they search a bunch of stuff and they find something, and then they mirror what they're trying to do, and they compare it to how they would prep versus how how fast. And all of a sudden they find a solution. Well, now you've done 3 things. One is you've increased employee satisfaction because you're allowing them to play with the tools and you're promoting it. And so if they find something that actually works and can help, you're also, probably going to be able to reduce your tech stack, and B, And three, you're also going to reduce your spend, because a lot of these tools can do so. It's a trifecta here, but you have to confine it. You have to put some structure to it to give some guidance, because otherwise you're going to have a couple of reps in that like go super deep on it and learn some really shit and nobody else is going to learn. You're going to have others that run away from it and never want to touch it. But if you confine it and put it in a structure and allow them to play it, but then make it very pointed with, hey, okay, now we're doing meeting prep. Now we're doing emails. Now we're doing summary calls after emails. Now we're doing persona intel. Now we're doing whatever it is. If you chunk away that, all of a sudden you're going to start to find some really cool ass solutions and transition into this world of AI. And by the way, by doing that, all those people are now going to be using the tools, getting used to them so that they can actually make the transition and do something as opposed to fully getting replaced by it.
Bro, we're in such a unique era right now. I can't wait to look back on this in like 5 years and to say, remember when?
I would tell you right now, you know, what would be really interesting to do is, journal, document right now, and you're documenting it with your podcast, but it's like you want to put your thoughts on paper right now of what you think is going to happen, like what's happening right now and what you think is going to happen. So then in 2 to 5 years, you can look back on it and be like, I was either way off or I was spot on. Right. Cause I think it's going to be real cool this is the rebirth, right? This is a rebirth of everything. And so, and it could go good. It could go really good. It could go really bad.
So we'll maybe in Terminator 10 years.
Well, here I'll leave you with something that'll blow everybody's mind. That got me thinking way too much about this shit. Is that I was watching this report and this woman, and I don't know if I got to read her book, but who knows if she's telling the truth or not. But she said she wrote this book, and then the movie theaters stole it from her. Both of these stories, the Terminator and the Matrix. In her book, they were both the same because the Terminator is the prequel to the Matrix. John Connor is actually Neo. And if you take it from a biblical standpoint, Neo is actually Jesus with the second coming and everything like that. So if you think about, just seriously, look it up. Just Google Terminator Matrix woman story, something like that. It'll pop up, because I think it was like the second or third Terminator where they talked about the future where the machines came alive and they started attacking humans. And so the humans had to kill their power source, which was the sun. So they did nuclear winter to block out the sun. And then the machines didn't have any power. So they turned to humans, put us into pods, plugged us into the Matrix, and made us all think that. So let that run around in your head for a little bit.
Get my mind on. Now I'm going to go watch all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Like I need to get stoned and watch it. Like I need to take a full weekend and watch like from beginning to end and see, and be like, oh my God, we are living, like this is a documentary. Like
JB, man, always fun to be able to learn from you. If folks want to get connected with you, check out your show, check out some of your content, and see Virtual JB. Where did they go ahead and do so?
Virtual JB ain't here yet. Hopefully in about a month, I'll have a nice little product that people can start playing around with. But yeah, for now, it's just go to jbarrows.com. So JBARROWS.com. That's where you'll find all my intel, a lot of background as far as my why and values too, and our membership, which we're doing some fun stuff with right now. And then you could always check us out on the podcast too. We do Make It Happen Mondays. And that's on all the major ones. You can go check it out there, but I appreciate it, man.
JB, thanks, man. Appreciate you. Hey, that was JB himself. If you haven't done so already, go check out his podcast. We have a link down in the show notes. Also, tell JB that you heard him here on the Sales Evangelist Podcast. You can find him on LinkedIn as well. We have some of his information there as well. And I would love to hear from you. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and tell me about some of the AI tools or tech that you're using to help shorten your sales process. I love that sales hackathon that John is mentioning. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be powerful for all of us if we can best apply it. So if you're going to do a sales hackathon, go ahead and let John and I know. It would be great to hear more about that. Also, if there's any way that we can help you, please go ahead and connect with us. You can find more information on our website, thesalesevangelist.com. You can also find some more information down in the show notes below. Listen, we have some great opportunities ahead. Things are going to change. However, we can utilize these technologies and these tools to help us to do our job even more effectively. Thank you so much for listening to our show today. If this is your first time listening, please subscribe. Also, go ahead and tell one other person about this. As always, we want you to raise your level of thinking and go out and do big things.